Hi there, this is David Donahue from the Eyes of Horus, and I'd really like to welcome you to finding out about my upcoming bootcamp. My bootcamp on gaining mastery over your anxiety. You see, anxiety is something that impacts, they say, over 25% of people. Now, I think it impacts even more because people just don't talk about it, they don't even report it. And so what I want you thinking about as part of what would this boot camp do for you if you're a person who has anxiety and it impacts your life in such a way that you either have it, as you say, all the time, or maybe it happens weekly or even monthly. The idea is that you can do something about it and you can overcome it. And the boot camp is really about how do we break down what's happening for you so that you can get the outcome you want. You see, I know, having had claustrophobia, panic myself, the one thing that I wanted was to be free of it. But I didn't really know what free meant. You see, having lived in it for so long, I thought that was normal, and therefore not having it was more abnormal. And so what I want to do is help you through this bootcamp is to understand whether you have just generalized anxiety, anxiety around social situations, presenting, phobias. Then I want you to recognize that you can actually do something about it. And you can begin to gain mastery over how you create the life that you want to live. But that's the other piece of this, which is where this bootcamp is a little bit different to others. You see, part of trying to work out how do you want to live without anxiety, as I said, I learned was quite difficult because it wasn't something I knew. Anxiety is a thing that actually makes you stop learning. And as a consequence, if you stop learning, then you really don't quite know what it is that you need to do. So part of the idea behind this bootcamp is that you have a problem that you suffer from anxiety. And yes, that is a problem. And I totally agree because I've been there, done that. And I know that you're tired of that idea of whether it's that it's impacting you daily, that you just don't know how to get out of it, whether you wake up with it, fearing that you might panic or have anxiety during the day. Again, that's not a great place to be. However, the ambition that I have for you is to help you to recognize that you can gain mastery over your anxiety and understand what it's telling you, what it is, what it isn't, and how you're able to release and understand the triggers and causes so that you have a level in your life where you can start to do the things that in the past it stopped you from doing. So have you ever had a situation where you wanted to be the first person in the team, for example, to jump up and give a presentation, whereas for now, no, you hold yourself back? Or maybe you're a person who you really want to go and socialize more and mix, but you just don't really feel comfortable doing it. Again, part of it's the fear and part of it is the lack of learning. And so it could also be that you've got phobias you want to get rid of. Or it could also be that it's just generalized anxiety. You don't really know what it's about, but you know life doesn't really fit and it's not giving you what you want. Like a person I was working with yesterday. She doesn't have the life that she wants. Her anxiety is triggered quite often. And we're able to go in, understand what the triggers are, what the causes are, and there's really only one main cause, and working towards releasing this. So what would it mean for you if all of a sudden you didn't have that anxiety affecting you every day? What would it mean for you if instead of you having to think about and have all those racing thoughts, the beating heart, the sweaty palms, the redness, the avoidance, that instead you started to get curious? Curious is starting to do those things that you actually think you want to do, that you might actually enjoy doing, but you don't really know. And doing those things where all of a sudden you recognize that, oh, in the past I didn't do this, but now I'm doing it. And I remember one of the first times I got rid of my claustrophobia. I went into a mine up at Sovereign Hill in Ballarat in Victoria. And when I was there, in the past I couldn't go down into this one, but this time I'm there and I'm sitting there and they turn the lights out, which in the past would have freaked me out no end. But I just sat there and you're there and it's in the dark and they're talking to you, you know you're safe, you know you're protected. All of a sudden it occurred to me, wow, so this is what it's like. And that's the thing to recognize, is that your curiosity and entertainment, excitement, they all come back in. So you're all of a sudden living such a different life. And so I had a story for me, which I know you also have your story around, the pain that you have around anxiety. And we have the pain. And I know I had the claustrophobia. If I got in a lift, others got in, I had to rush out. I felt embarrassed. My darkest hour was that I had claustrophobia, but I had a dream. I had a dream of just going inside the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. I dreamed about this for probably 20 years. Finally, there I am. I'm standing there. I'm looking up at the pyramid. It's massive. And I look at the hole where I'm going to go in and the panic took over. And I couldn't go in. I just couldn't do it. And I knew that that was my darkest hour in relation to my fear. I needed to do something about it. And I wonder what the purpose is. What's the reason of you overcoming your anxiety? Because you know what? There is a reason. And it may not even just be for you. It may be for the people around you, for your family, for your friends. So that you become a happier person maybe, or you start to do things that everyone wants you to do and you've always stopped doing. And so the idea is what is it that's stopping you right now? What is it that's holding you back? And can you now say, you know what? I'm sick of it. That's it. I can't put up with this anymore. It's now time. It's now time to make a difference in my life and really overcome my anxiety. And so you begin to recognize that in the boot camp, what we're doing is we're taking you from a point of pain, a pain point of where things aren't working as you want. And then we're taking you to a new point, which is, for want of a better term, a pleasure point. A pleasure point where you can start to have pleasure, you can start to have excitement, enjoy, and you can enjoy life. You can enjoy socializing, going out. Maybe if you have to give a presentation at work, you can actually get up and enjoy it. Or it might be that it's just a matter of you get up in the morning and you're just feeling good. And that's what it is that you can have. And you can have this. And the boot camp helps you achieve this, but it helps you achieve even more. Because one of the things that the change means for you is that it means that you can now learn. Start to learn the things that you don't know. Now, it's a very simple concept around learning. I know that when I had a phobia of spiders, if there was a spider in the room, I had to leave. I couldn't stay in the room. I was petrified. Got rid of the phobia. But once I got rid of the phobia, there was another thing I had to do. I had to learn. What happens if there's a spider in the room? What do I do about it? Do I let it go? Do I put it in a jar? So I learned I'm not fearful of them. So I just get a broom and I just get it on the broom and I take it outside. And so I want you to recognize that that's what this boot camp is about. It's about overcoming your anxiety by gaining mastery and understanding what's happening for you so you can understand the triggers, what they're telling you, and start to overcome it, but then learn how to live the life that you can live free of that anxiety. And so this is what a big piece of the 5-week program, boot camp, for overcoming anxiety and gaining mastery of your anxiety is about. In the first week, it's really about getting to know your anxiety. In other words, what is anxiety and what isn't anxiety? A lot of people don't know for sure. They get confused. Anxiety really is the symptoms that you experience. And as I get you to understand through the work we do through that week, it's really understanding that anxiousness is something you do, not something you have. So in the second week, we look at how do you cope? How do you cope when the symptoms of anxiety come up? Now, even when you've gained mastery and you're overcome anxiety, it still means there might be the occasional symptom of something that comes and triggers something. That's normal. Because what you also want to know is understanding what are your triggers? What do they mean? Week 3 really looks at getting deep into the causes of your anxiety that you don't even know. And that's the thing to recognize is don't assume you know because you don't. Once you start to feel the anxiousness is not the moment it was caused, it was some time outside of that. It was a decision point that you made in some experience. And we go into understanding what these decision points are and how to change them, how to help you to find what it is that you need so that you can be free of the anxiety. And then week 4 is really about becoming more emotionally mindful, understanding what emotions are and how you work with them, how they're there to help you, and how you can bring in positive emotions like excitement and curiosity. And that's needed because we are emotional creatures and we need to understand that emotions are beneficial even if we don't feel comfortable with them. Week 5 is about what I call filling the gap. Now, this is a part that most people leave out of when they deal with anxiety because they say, once your anxiety's gone, it's gone. Well, yes, it is. But it's a little bit like my example with the spider. Yes, it's gone, but now what? Who am I? What do I do? How do I do those things that I've got no idea on how to do because I've never done them in the past because I was so fearful? So I help you to understand how to be able to learn, how to be able to experience and gain knowledge so that you can live the life you want to live, to do those actions that you have stopped yourself from doing in the past. Once you've got this, how do you move forward in your life? How do you move forward to be that wonderful person who is now living and working in the way that you are because you've gained mastery over anxiety? And so let me explain the framework that we'll use as we go through for each week, because it is fairly formalized, and it's formalized in such a way that this is how, when I work with my clients, I find it's the best method to be able to make sure that they get an understanding. You get the buy-in, you then make the changes, and then you start to apply them and see how they work. So day 1 is really an informational webinar, and that's about learning about something, whatever the theme of the week is. So in the first week, which is learning about anxiety, we cover all the things you need to know about anxiety, what it isn't, for example. The second day is about you completing checklist or some kind of document to help you to learn more about where you're at. And a big part of this is because we often don't review our life. We don't look at where we're at. And as we look at it, we can start to make more sense and understand what it is that's not working so we can create what is working for our lives. Day 3 is about a webinar where we start to overcome any of the issues that are going on. So one of the webinars we'll look at is self-hypnosis and how you can get into what I call your safe place. And this is something I use all the time that actually a lot of people also don't use when they deal with anxiety. Because my idea is that when you have your mind in visualization, it is very, very powerful because I've been using it for so many years. And you can create it so then you can take that with you wherever you are. So it no longer has impacts on you in that you have to try and get home to be safe or someone else. You can have and take your safety with you. Day 4, we look at either explaining the checklist, things that you filled in on day 2, or maybe there's an ebook or another book to refer to. So again, it's building up information and understanding because that's what you've been missing. And that's what a lot of courses actually leave out. Day 5 is a Q&A answer day. Now in this one, we have a webinar where I answer questions that come from the closed Facebook group that you'll get access to. And it really is about giving examples and more examples specifically for you so that you know what to do and how to overcome and deal with the anxiousness that comes up even during the course, because things will come up, but you are in a safe environment and I help you to understand how you'll be able to work through it so you're in a safe place. And that's one of the reasons why I have that visualization around the safe place. Now day 6 is a review, and I like review days because there's not much happening, but it allows you to basically stop, catch up and look at where you're going and make sure things are working. And do you have to repeat any of the days? And again, the days aren't long. There's maybe 45 minutes an hour at any longest day. Other days might only be 15 minutes to half an hour. So there's not a lot of effort, but it does take your commitment and time to go through it. And so as you review, you work out where you're at and how you're going with your goals. And then finally, day 7 is where we do some more visualization. So it's more along the lines of hypnosis type work, guided visualizations, some people call it active meditation, whatever name you want to give, to help you to increase your ability and to create the changes and make them bigger. So in knowing that this is the steps and noticing that this is why it's 5 weeks and not 1, 2, or even 3 weeks, there's a lot to cover. And I know that you can do this because I know the people I work with go through and are able to do this. And why is it important for you to go through this? Well, it's because up to now, if you've still got anxiety, it means what you've done hasn't worked. Now, I know this program has worked because I've done it for many people, and I know they've been able to overcome their anxiety and gain mastery over it. And I know it's based on what I created in the first case. And so I know it works, and I have experience behind it. I have a mission. And my mission is to help anyone in Australia who has anxiety to get help and overcome their anxiety, so they gain mastery over it, not just cope. I know that I want to put a program together that would work for you, and I know that this does. I know it works very well, and it keeps going. And because you can actually get access to the program and then do it again in any sections you need to, it means that if you have multiple anxiousness that I had, because I had fears, panics, and claustrophobia, then I was able to go through and actually resolve many of them, which really made it so my life was a lot more happier, fun, exciting, curious, as I mentioned before. And so you can create in your life that positivity, that confidence, that empowered mindset that you know what, I can now move forward and I can create how I want my life to be. And so whether it's in areas of career and vocation, where you're starting to recognize and do those things there that you want to do that you've been stopping yourself from doing, whether it's in your relationships, in your family and friends, where the anxiety again has made you withdraw, or they haven't known what to say or what to do, that all changes. Your health, it actually changes with your health, because if you no longer got the fight-flight response constantly going through, you feel so much better, and a lot of the tiredness and fatigue just disappears. And also, you're starting to focus on you and put yourself first, so you are looking at developing you. And so it does cover a lot of areas in your life, so that as you're overcoming your anxiety and gaining mastery, your life is improving in many areas. So I suppose the question for you is simply, have you ever really wanted to overcome your anxiety? So this program being 35 days, it has its benefits and advantages for you. The benefits themselves means that you start to take control of yourself. You take control of any of the anxiety, and you start to learn how to take the action so that you can deal with the things that happen in your life. You see, even when you don't have anxiety, there are still days when things aren't working, and this gives you the tools and techniques that you can use so you can work through those days and come out feeling really wonderful, because you know you've been able to deal with something where in the past you just haven't been able to do it. Now, besides the program of the 35 days, there are a number of bonuses that you'll actually get. One is the closed Facebook group. You will put up what you need, questions, and I will put up the answers. If I need to refer to other people or other books or any other information, that will be there. Now, besides the closed Facebook group, then the Q&A session helps you. However, sometimes people are a little bit unsure about putting things up. And so what I have is, during the 5 weeks, there are 2 15-minute calls that I can have with you. And in those calls, we go specifically over the questions that you have. So these calls are done over the phone, they're confidential, No one else knows about them, and they're just for you to get what you need. When you first enroll, before the bootcamp starts, then you will get a number of checklists and documents to complete to really start to understand things about yourself. And with these checklists, you'll get videos actually associated with them explaining bits and pieces on what these checklists mean. And the reason that I give these is because I want you to be prepared. Because again, remember what I said near the start? One of the things anxiety does is it stops you learning. And a big part of what I want to do is I want to help you to learn. Start learning again and getting that information that you need so it works for you. And I suppose that's one of the differences. See, I have the experience in being a trainer and a teacher, qualified in NLP and training and education, and I have that ability also of having had anxiety and overcome it. So you put the two together, and what I'm doing is helping you to go through the process, go through the steps to overcome your anxiety and gain mastery over it, at the same time helping you to learn by teaching you, mentoring you. So now it's time for you to work out, what are you going to do? Are you now ready? Are you now going to go ahead and take control? And do this bootcamp so that you can overcome your anxiety and gain mastery over it. And if you're ready to do that, then great. There's a button down below to register and pay for this program. I also have for you the calls, and those calls means that I can only have limited number of people on the program. And once the bootcamp starts, then it will be closed. And it won't open again until the next bootcamp. So please be aware that if you want to do it and you're really committed, then sign up now, because now's the time. When I get people to do my program, it's usually $1,800. But that's not what I'm going to charge you. Nothing like that. In actual fact, the cost of this program is only $30 a week for the 5 weeks. So when you're ready, just click the buttons below and choose the options relevant to you. And I'll see you on the bootcamp.